Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Princeton Review webinar. My name is Steven. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to get in and get settled, and we're going to start shortly. Right. It looks like everyone is mostly in. We'll give it another second. All right, so hi everyone. Welcome to the Princeton Review webinar, how to craft your best fit for college admission. My name is Steven, and I'll be co-hosting today's presentation along with our expert, Lisa McLaughlin. Just so you know, everyone's lines are muted, so if you have any questions or if there's something you'd like to share with us, please use the question box located in your GoToWebinar menu bar. We'll do our best to get through everyone's questions at the end. We'll save a little time. But if we are unable to answer your questions during the webinar, we'll follow up right after the webinar. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Lisa, who's going to be taking us through some great stuff. Take it away, Lisa.
Thank you, Steven. Can you hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm really looking forward to this webinar. I am going to be talking to you about how to craft your best case for college admission. And I'm going to be speaking directly to you in the hopes that you are 9th and 10th graders, or rising 9th graders, rising 10th graders, or even rising 11th graders. But if you do have a student that is in the 11th grade, you will get a lot out of this because it definitely applies to things that take place in the junior year as well. So I'm going to walk you through some slides and talk to you about how to build your best case for college admission. And first, to start, what I'd like to do is tell you where I'm at. I am actually, right now, I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm from California, so I'm not normally here. Our operational headquarters are here in Austin, Texas, and this is where our fabulous college admissions team members work, our counselors and our college admissions coaches. Actually, our counselors are all over the place, but our coaches are here. So I am going to tell you at the very end some information about our programming and programs, but the purpose of the webinar is really to help you to better understand what you should be doing now in order to really pace yourself through the process. Some logistical pieces, and I'll be talking to you a bit about myself and what my background is, because I think it's obviously important that you know that, but we are going to launch a poll right now. And this will help me to really understand who is in my virtual room, so to speak. And we'll go ahead and do that. So first off, who is participating in this webinar? Are you a student? Is it only a student sitting in your room? Only a parent? Or if you are with your student and parent, you can click that. Or maybe you're another professional, and if you are, welcome. So if you can go ahead and fill those out, that would be great. And once just about everybody, and please participate in the polls. It helps us to know who you are, and I actually will cater my presentation more knowing who's in the room. So we like to see 100% voting. That's what helps us. So right now we're at about 83%. So if you're sitting there, we hope that you'll tune in. Okay, and if you want to actually go ahead and launch the next poll as well, this is connected. And then what we'd like to know now is what the student's graduating high school class year is, as far as either if you're a parent, you're a student, you can pick your favorite student, your favorite child, though that's terrible, but go ahead and click whoever you're here for, whether it's a rising senior, rising junior, etc., all the way down. That will help us as well. Okay, so we've got, this is great. So about half of you are going to be juniors next year, and then the rest are split between going to be a senior and then in quite a few sophomores. So that's great. I'm very proud of you for attending. For those of you that have students who are younger, and you're going to get a lot out of tonight. So you can go ahead and close that poll. And next up is a little bit about me. So I am someone who has a lot of experience in the field of college admissions and counseling. And I was a former application reader for the University of California for many years, and I was there actually when they transitioned into a more holistic approach to admissions. I've read thousands and thousands of essays. I know what it takes to gain admission to the most selective schools in the country. I've worked with thousands of students and families. I'm a national trainer and public speaker for different college admissions trends and topics. I've done a lot of these webinars for Princeton Review. Prior to that, I actually owned my own college admissions counseling business where I served hundreds of families and helped them through the entire process. I'm also a published author. I was a columnist for the LA Times publications, writing on a ton of different topics specifically catered to parents. I have children of my own, and parents, I feel your pain as you're going through this process. I know that there is a lot to think about. Something that is really important as we go through this is to know that philosophically, we, here at the Princeton Review, we really believe that it's important for you as parents to help to guide your students to find the best fit college for them. Now, what does that mean? That means that we want you to make sure that you're focusing on the social aspects of the process, or the social aspects of the fit, emotional aspects of the fit, along with the financial fit and the academic fit of the college. There's a lot to think about. With that, let me tell you that in our college admissions counseling program, we work with students that run the gamut. We work with students that are at the absolute top of their class, that have top grades and top test scores, and that are looking for admission into the most uber selective universities in the country, the Ivy League schools, the prestigious schools. We also work with students who don't have that caliber of a profile, and they're students who are also looking for great, excellent, best fit colleges that might need to look at less selective schools as well. And we work with everybody in between. And that's kind of a myth, here at the Princeton Review, that we only work with students that are at the top of their class, and that's not true. We work with students that fit every single profile, and the goal is the same: to help students to gain admission to schools that are going to be great fits for them. So something that I think we're going to do, well, I know that we're going to do tonight is, and this isn't necessarily in an order of an agenda, but what we're really going to be focusing on is how colleges build a well-rounded freshman class, and I'm going to talk to you about that in detail. Notice that I did not say there what you can do to ensure your student is well-rounded. That's not what we're going to talk about tonight, because that's not what colleges are looking for anymore. Because there are so many students applying to college, and so many of those students are highly qualified applicants, it's important for you to understand that the colleges now get to pick and choose what they want. They're the ones that get to pick and choose how they're going to round out their freshman class by accepting specialists, by accepting students that really fill specific niches. So we're going to talk about that tonight and what it looks like, in the admissions room, and what they're doing in order to create their best freshman class. We're going to obviously spend time about how to set yourself apart from the competition. And I applaud you for those of you who, you have rising freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, especially the younger students, because it's important that you pace yourself and that you're doing things now in order to build the best case for admission. Because starting in your junior year or the summer before your senior year, frankly, is just too late. It's important that you're, creating all of the experiences and the possibilities that you can to make sure that you're going to craft the best possible application. And then at the very end, I'm going to be talking about the edge that we give you here in our admissions counseling program. I love questions. I think it's really important. We actually have a nice, small group this evening, and so please ask questions. They will be addressed at the end. And you can do that in your question box in your GoToWebinar dashboard, or whatever it's called, okay? Please do, and I always tell people there's no such thing as a dumb question. I really do believe that. We all believe that here. Our college admissions coaches are here to answer so many questions, and so please ask away. Now's your time. I've been doing this for a lot. I've heard it all. I'm doing this for many years, and I've heard it all. So we're gonna launch another poll in order to get into this here, and that is gonna be, what is your current biggest college admissions concern? And, I ask that because, you're sitting here right now, you have students that are younger, you're thinking about so much that's going on, And we want you to just think about that. So is it that your biggest concern right now is something that has to do with grades or academic course planning, like you're not really sure what classes should be taken next year or what matters in the process? Maybe you're thinking about test preparation and what to do for the planning, or you really have your mind on how are we going to select the best fit colleges for my students, and how do we go about developing the list? Or you're really thinking about that application process, and those essays are freaking you out or freaking your student out, so go ahead and list that. Or maybe it is financial aid. Go ahead and click that through. We've got about half that voted. Again, we'd like to see that as close to 100% as possible. So if you're sitting there, please, please click a button. Just select one, your current biggest college admissions concern out of all of those. Okay. Okay, so as of now, the majority of you, what is weighing on your mind is the actual application process, including the essays. So what I'll tell you is, because the majority of you are actually not seniors, what I'll say is you have some other things that you want in the forefront of your mind as you go through this process. The actual application process and the essays, that is not something that's really thought about until before your senior year. So for the 10% of you or those that are seniors, of course that's going to weigh heavy on your mind. But you really, right now, you want to be thinking about and concerned about. I mean, concern doesn't have to be a negative connotation. It also could be, something that you want in the forefront of your mind. You want to be thinking about college selection, and you want to be thinking about how you're going to go about developing your list, and of course, what you're going to do to make your best case for college admission, which is obviously your academic course planning. And so we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that, as well as your extracurricular activities and how to make the most of your profile. Okay, you can go ahead and close that. Thanks, Stephen. Okay, so what is it that colleges are really looking for when they're crafting their freshman class? So I know that you have a lot of different concerns and you're thinking about what it is you're going to do, but it's time for you to really put yourself into the shoes of these admissions officers. So they are getting thousands of college applications from students all over the world. And they get to sift through those applications and figure out exactly which students are going to take those coveted spots. And so when you think about it, it's not that necessarily they're looking for one student or a handful of students that's going to, they're going to be the oboe players, and another handful of students that they're going to be on the swim team. That's sort of an archaic way to look at the admissions process. What you want to think about instead is that colleges are really looking for those subjective factors, those it factors, those wow factors that are going to help you to not only be a great contributor on their on their college campus, but also it's going to help them to understand what you're going to do on a daily basis when you're at that school. And not only what you're going to do to contribute on a daily basis, but of course, when you graduate from their college and you become an alum, what types of contributions are you going to make down the line? Now, that sounds a little crazy. Well, you're like, I have a 9th grader. Why does my 9th or 10th grader need to think about that right now? Well, and here's why. Colleges want to know that you're not just going to take a spot if admitted. So if they admit you that you're not going to only attend, you're going to attend. You're going to make sure you make great positive contributions on their campus. And then when you leave, you're going to then extend goodwill to future students of their school. They're looking for a long-term relationship with you. They want to make sure that if you get in, you're going to not just be there and sit in your dorm room, but that you are going to take advantage of the academic and intellectual offerings at the school, that you're going to really be a part of that campus community and bring it to life. And so how do they figure that out? Well, first of all, what they're looking for is they're looking for students that are really curious. So they're looking for students that, that you're not just going to your high school classes and getting good grades. That doesn't get you in just because, if you have a high GPA and test score, that's not what gets you into a school. That's what makes sure that you make the first cut, right? What helps you to get in is evidence that you are curious, that you are resilient, and that you have a strong ability to contribute to various parts of the college campus. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. We hear all the time about grades and test scores. Of course, that is extremely important. But for the most selective colleges in the country, it's not enough. And that's not what's going to differentiate you from the pack, okay? A college is going to review your transcript and they're going to review your grades. We're going to talk about this in a minute. They're going to review those test scores, and they're doing that in order to, you're trying to give them a reason to not cut you at that point, okay? So they need to know that you have the grades and you have the test scores to be able to, do well that freshman year, so you'll come back the sophomore year. They want to know that if they accept you, that you're not going to hurt what's called their retention rate, which is, how many students are retained between freshman and sophomore year. It doesn't look good if a college can't keep you your second year, if you drop out because you weren't academically ready or emotionally prepared for the differences in college. So they're going to look for that resiliency, okay? They're going to look for you going through an obstacle and overcoming it. They're not expecting perfection, okay? And I'm going to say that again. Colleges do not expect perfect vanilla applicants. They like when you have struggled a little bit and you've overcome, okay? And that could be that you've decided to, maybe you got a C in a class, but you kept at it instead of dropping it because you're a resilient person and you went after school and got help from the teacher in order to do that instead of just quit, okay? So that resiliency is really important to them. Why do they care so much about curiosity? Because everyone has to go to high school classes, okay? It's required, it's the law. You have to be in school. You have to go ahead and take certain academic classes for graduation by state, right? But what you don't have to do is you don't have to take a lesson that you learned in biology about cells that was really interesting to you and go home and talk about it with your parents and go to the library or bookstore and extend your learning about that particular subject, or read books over the summer that show that you're intellectually curious, or apply to a competitive summer program where you deepen that intellectual interest in a subject. That all shows curiosity, and it shows that you're not just going to go to a college class on campus and then go back to your dorm and do whatever. You're going to be fully engaged in the academic and intellectual community. So they're going to look for curiosity. They're going to look for resiliency. And the most important piece is they're trying to figure out, how are you going to make an impact on their campus when you get there? So what are you going to do that's going to leave this lasting impression and the college is going to remember you? All of those pieces are what a college looks for when they're creating a well-rounded freshman class. And they're going to look for different types of students that are curious about different things, that have overcome different things, that have the ability to contribute in different ways. But that's what they're going to look for when they're creating a strong freshman class. And now we're going to talk about how it is that you're going to do that. And that actually brings me to our next poll, which is going to lead into what you want to be working on before summer gets out. If you want to launch that poll, I want you to think about, what is the most important piece of a student's high school transcript? Is it the GPA, the class rank, which we know that class rank is not on all transcripts? Actually, more than half of high schools now in the United States do not have a class rank, and it's okay. But which one, if it's on there, what do you think is most important? GPA, class rank, the coursework itself, or your individual grades? Okay, so we've got a lot of people. Good, thank you for voting, yay. Ooh, a lot of people vote. This makes me so happy when we see these numbers. Okay, so go ahead and close that, Stephen. So 46% of you said the GPA. None of you said class rank. I think I gave that away because it's not on every transcript. 38% of you said your coursework and 38% said the coursework, and 15% said individual rates. So the answer actually to this is that the most important piece of your transcript is absolutely your coursework. No question, okay? And here's why. A review of your high school classes, the way that the classes are sequenced, and what it is they call it an upward grade trend, hopefully, or more difficult classes as you go on. That's going to show a school what you're capable of intellectually, and it's going to provide evidence that you're able to handle a college level curriculum. Because you have to think about it. If you're Actually, I'm not going to go there yet. What I want to talk about as we go over this is what you want to do right now before school gets out for the summer. Okay, so this is your pre-summer checklist. Okay, what you want to make sure that you have done, and this sounds easy, like, oh, of course I've done this, but please, please, please make sure that you have set your class schedule. You have double checked with your counselor to make sure that you're going to be enrolled in the classes that you want. You don't want to wait until school starts in August or September to be haggling with your counselor about getting the right classes. Make sure that you have set that class schedule and you know why it is you're taking certain classes, especially those of you that are entering your junior year. Junior year is when you as an applicant, you as a candidate, set yourself apart from the pack, okay? So here's what you need to think about when you're looking at your class schedule. And this is, a lot of you had questions about this, so let me clear this up. The first thing is that it is a myth that it's better to get all A's and take a regular college prep curriculum than it is to get slightly lower grades and take more rigorous classes. Okay, so it is better to get a B in an honors or AP or IB class than it is just to take the easier class and get A's. So when I tell you to set your schedule, I want you to think about this. If you look at your transcript and you have predominantly A's and high B's, and that's what you're looking at, but then you look at the types of classes and you don't have any honors or AP classes and your high school offers them. If you have those things, you need to walk into your counseling office and you need to have a conversation. I'm talking to the student, okay? The student needs to request leveling up. It's important that a college feels that you are taking advantage of the most rigorous courses possible at your high school without going overboard. They want to see that you are what's called exhausting the curriculum at your school. So if you have been in English classes since the 7th grade and you are an A student in English and you are so concerned about preserving your GPA and you're worried about getting a slightly lower grade, a B or even a high C, okay, in a class, you need to stop doing that, because colleges care that you are accessing rigorous curriculum as much as you can handle without going overboard. So that increased rigor is going to make a difference between your admission to a more selective school or not getting in, okay? I have students that coast through, okay, with A's in regular college prep classes. They have a 4.0, their test scores are pretty strong. They don't get into selective colleges simply because they were not exhausting the curriculum at their school. They were not taking advantage of what's offered at the high school. Now with that, if you're at a school that doesn't offer that type of curriculum and you want to access it, you need to take the initiative and you need to go out of your way to figure out how you maybe get those classes. There are online classes that you can take that have that designation. There are community colleges that are online. Those of you in an area that's an urban area, you have the opportunity to take classes that are going to challenge you, and a college loves to see that you're taking that initiative and you're not just saying, well, my school doesn't offer it. Okay, so you want to make sure you do that. With that though, if those things aren't offered at your school and maybe you have a job or there's something that's prohibiting you from taking those types of classes, you're never going to be punished for not taking advantage of something that wasn't offered at your school, right? That doesn't make sense. You're going to be evaluated within the context of your environment. So look at the course offerings at your school and make sure you are taking advantage of the sequence and exhausting the curriculum. With that, if you're a rising senior next year and you have the option to only take 5 academic classes, I caution you against that, okay? You want to take foundational subject areas, math, science, English, world language. You want to take those classes every year, okay? And there should be, and I'm missing something there, but you want to make sure that you're taking those foundational classes in every area, because if not, it looks like, well, why wouldn't you take it? Okay, why wouldn't you go there? I'll tell you, there was a poll a few years back with the National Association of College Admissions Counselors, and they were asking admissions directors what they wish they saw more of at the time, and it was students taking a world language every year. The more selective the school, the more they want you to do that. They want you to have proficiency in another language, and you gain that by taking the language every year and then taking maybe a subject test or an AP exam to illustrate that proficiency, okay? So before school gets out, make sure that class schedule is set and have those conversations. It's a lot easier in a public school setting especially for you to get moved around than it is, of course, when you start in the fall, when master schedule is set and course loads are set and you have to wait for students to drop in order for you to be added and all of that, okay? The second thing that you want to do before summer is you want to actually order your physical transcript. You want to get an unofficial copy of your high school transcript. Every school does it differently. Sometimes you can just walk into your counseling office and they'll print it for you since it's unofficial. Other times you have to order it in different ways. What I want for you to do with that is I want you to recalculate your GPA to the standards of most colleges, okay? How do you do that? Well, most colleges are not going to give an extra point in your GPA. They're not going to weight your GPA for honors classes that you take, okay? You might be sitting there thinking, well, then why am I taking a bunch of honors classes? Well, if your school has honors classes and those classes are made to prepare you for AP or IB classes, then of course you have to take those honors classes. But just know that a lot of colleges will not give weight to honors classes. They will sort of put it on the side and know that you are taking some accelerated classes. Classes that are given weight by colleges are AP classes, because AP classes align with a nationally created curriculum that's taught to teachers who teach it to you. And IB classes are also weighted because it's an international program that's created by an international team of people that's then trained, then teachers are trained and passed on to you. So those classes, there's sort of a norm, right? Colleges know what an AP and an IB class looks like. Honors classes, those are created usually by either a school or a district, and it's very hard to monitor what that curriculum's like. And an honors English class in a small high school in Oklahoma might look very different from an honors class in a larger city somewhere else, whatever. So make sure that you're recalculating your GPA and not giving extra weight to honors classes if that's what your high school does. The second thing you want to do is you do want to look for discrepancies, okay? This is an official legal document, so make sure the grades are right. Make sure that the classes are listed correctly. You want to look for all of that. And then the next piece, and this is very dependent on your high school, but because there are schools that are test optional, where you don't have to submit your test scores for the SAT or ACT, if you've taken the PSAT, if you've taken these tests and they're actually on your official transcript, you might be really better served by requesting that the registrar at your school removes those test scores from your transcript, okay? So that's something to think about if you're concerned about your test scores or you're not really certain, because remember that that official document is going to be sent to most of the colleges that you apply to if they require it. So you want to make sure that everything on there is legitimately what you want the colleges to see. Now, you can't go about and say, hey, can you remove that D or F for me? It doesn't work that way. But test scores, there's usually some wiggle room there, and so you're able to, because you own the scores, the student and the family owns those scores, not the school, and so you're able sometimes to get those removed if you need to. The next piece that you want to do before summer is you want to start thinking about your profile, okay? So how do you compare to your peers academically? Sometimes your school's going to rank, so you're able to see you're in the top 10%, 20%, etc. But you also want to look at what is your GPA compared to the average GPAs at your school, what types of classes are you taking that compared to what's offered. Just get a really good understanding for what your profile looks like, because then when it comes time to build your list, which takes place in the junior year, you'll have an honest understanding of where you stand. So you're not looking at colleges where you don't have a chance of getting in, okay? And so if you end up with, a 3.5 GPA and you have some practice test scores that are showing, you've got like high 500s, low 600s on your test scores, then when you start to research colleges, you know what your profile is, so you can compare that profile to the profile that we have it on review.com. We've got lots of school profiles. You can start to look at all of that in order to analyze where you stand, okay? So this is what you want to do, whether you're, I would say, rising sophomore, rising junior, rising senior. Make sure you get these things in order. If you have a middle schooler, ninth grader, you should be mapping out your entire four-year plan. Everything you're going to be doing, all the sequencing of the classes, the types of extracurriculars, get everything mapped out. There's a lot of research that shows when you have a plan, you're able to stick to it. Don't just get placed in a class and not understand why. Ask questions. You want to advocate for yourself, okay? This is often, I will say, before sophomore and junior year, especially before junior year, this is when the juniors are going to split from the pack. This is where decisions made now will absolutely impact the types of colleges you're going to be able to apply to down the road. We have here at the Princeton Review, we have a strategy session product. We have something called a strategy session where you, and I'll talk about this at the very end, where you can meet with a college admissions counselor. That person has direct experience working behind the scenes in offices of admission. And so we recommend, if you have questions, especially related to your schedule, you know, some urgent things that are going on right now, you're not sure what to take next year or what to do about testing, sign up for a session, because it's something that's going to help you moving forward to make sure you're building your strongest case for admission. Okay, next, we're going to have our next poll, which is, we're going to start talking about summer. We talked about pre-summer. So what I want you to do is think about, what do you think, which summer activity is the most meaningful to colleges? A job, volunteering, reading, like reading for pleasure, or test prep? So what do you think? Oh, this is interesting. It's very evenly split. Okay, so we've got about half that voted, 64%, 79% voted. Let's get to the 90s again. Okay, good. All right, so go ahead and close that, Stephen. So you said, 33% of you said that a job is most meaningful. Half of you said volunteering. None of you said reading, and 17% of you said test prep. So here's what I'll say. It all matters depending on the types of colleges you're applying to and what it is you've done the rest of the year. And here is why, okay? Why does a job matter? Well, if you don't really do much during the year, or you do a lot during the year and you need to help to earn money as your, you know, to help your family or to serve, you know, another purpose and to help to supplement an allowance or whatever, then of course that's going to be meaningful to a college. And that's something that, you know, you're going to learn responsibility. You're going to learn, you know, how to work with different types of people. You're going to learn how to handle money. That could go a long way. Half of you said volunteering, and let me tell you a couple things. Volunteering over the summer is excellent, but I'm going to caution you against a couple things, okay? You don't just want to volunteer over the summer. Let's say it again. You don't just want all your volunteer work to take place over the summer, because if there is a cause or passion that you really care about, why would you only do it 2 or 3 months of the year, okay? Maybe you go way deeper into a volunteer experience over the summer, like so you can get more leadership opportunity, or because you have more time, you're able to deepen that experience. But then what happens? Then you go back to school and you get back in the grind, and then you don't do anything with that organization again. You don't want to be that student, okay? That doesn't give you an edge. What gives you an edge is if you select a cause that you care about, something that's passionate, something that matters to you, that you want to make a difference, you volunteer with that organization. And I'm saying that organization, I'm not saying for you to split your hours all the way across the, you know, your entire community and world. I'm not saying you have to jump on a plane and go volunteer in Africa, okay? Find what matters to you in your community and consider what you can do to help that cause, to improve that social situation, okay? If you think of volunteering in terms of, I have to serve hours, I have to do this because it's required by my school, a college will see right through that and it will not be meaningful to them, okay? So it's not a great idea to volunteer for 3 weeks, 40 hours a week with a cause and then disappear the rest of the year. Maybe you can still go back to that organization once a month during the school year, okay? But it could be meaningful to colleges depending on how you play that. Nobody marked reading, okay? And I will tell you that this activity can be very, very meaningful to colleges, okay? If there are pieces that you learn in school, and you know the content of curriculum goes so quickly in your classes, but you wish that it would slow down a little bit. You could spend more time reading about the Civil War, or you were really interested in something that happened in one of your science classes. The summer is the time for you to deepen that intellectual curiosity, okay? It's also the time when you have time to actually read for pleasure, because you're not having to read your English books and your AP books and all of that. So reading can go a long way in the process, and it absolutely shows intellectual curiosity. You know, I have a student that over the summer, they decided to read a variety of classic books that aren't even taught anymore at their school. And that's how they spent their summer. So that could definitely be meaningful. I will say that test prep The reason why it's meaningful to colleges is because it's going to help to improve your academic profile, okay? Test prep is an investment, okay, because test prep is often connected to your ability to earn merit aid. Okay, merit aid often has zero connection to need-based aid at all. And so by doing test prep and investing in test prep, you will have a higher chance of getting higher scores that will then help you to possibly get merit aid. So you would never put test prep on a resume, okay, but it could help with that. And for the next piece, what I want to say is, over the summer, these are the things that we just talked about that you want to be doing, okay? So first of all, summer is a time for you to get curious. You want to be engaged outside of school. It will show that you're self-driven. It will show that you want to deepen your understanding about something. You want to do something that's going to set yourself apart. So that when you're applying to college, let's say you want to be an engineer major and you haven't done anything in your school that's related to engineering except maybe taking some high-level math classes or something. By doing something over the summer that engages your mind in something engineering focused, it's going to show to the college that you're not just saying you want to be an engineer, and you're not just saying you want to major in engineering, but you're doing something that shows that you have that interest, that proves that you're serious, that ends up giving them evidence of how you will contribute later, okay? That's how you set yourself apart, by doing things that illustrate intellectual curiosity over the summer. And again, that could be books. We have lots of students that are interested in pre-med, okay? Pre-med's not a major, okay, but they think they want to be doctors. And when asked, what do you want to study when you're in college? Some people say pre-med, which again, pre-med isn't a major. But when they talk about an academic interest and they talk about why they want to be doctors, they're going to say things like, well, because my dad is one, or my mom is one, or I've always been interested. I never get disgusted by the sight of blood. Okay, if you're able to say, well, I've read these 3 books, all by pre-med students or doctors or residents. I participated in an undergraduate competitive research program. I shadowed a family physician the whole summer. That's going to set yourself apart, because it's going to show that you are serious, okay? That, yeah, I don't just want to study biology to become a doctor, but these are the things I've done over the summer to actually show it. Do you have to do it all summer? No, but it's important for you to show that engagement, okay? By doing that, it also shows initiative during the unstructured independent hours, okay? You are teenagers. Your parents are not, or I would assume, are not going to be watching you the whole time and telling you every step and every hour what you should be doing. That's what college is like. So this is how you show the college that you're mature enough to handle those unstructured hours. So what do you do with them? I will tell you that Stanford, year after year, has had the question of how did you spend your last 2 summers? Okay, they want to specifically know what you've done, and a lot of other colleges will do the same. They want to know what you do when you're not required to sit in a classroom. Do you decide to learn anyway? What do you do? Okay? Of course, I'm not saying that you should be doing this the whole summer. You also need to rest. There needs to be some serious brain rest. And I'm sorry, parents, if you're not agreeing on this, but I have to tell you that there's a lot of research that shows that break in the mind is going to build up the brain stamina and what you can handle again in that school year. So resting your mind, challenging yourself in other more physical areas, or doing something else with your mind, body, muscles, it's going to help you to reset. So when you go back in the next year, you're able to start fresh. There's 10 to 12 weeks of your summer. So divide it up and think about how you're going to get curious, how you're going to show initiative, what you're going to do to rest and reset, and then, of course, how are you going to get ahead, okay? So if you are a freshman going into your sophomore year, you're most likely not going to be taking the SAT or ACT for real, but it might be a good time to start pacing yourself for different tests and starting to, the PSAT you're going to want to take in your sophomore year in the fall. So maybe that's a time to do some PSAT prep in order to kind of see what your scores and your baseline is going to be. If you're heading into your junior year, for most of you, now is the time to start your test preparation. You want to be thinking about when are you going to take certain tests, what works with your extracurricular schedule, and then map it all out. You know, when are you going to do this or take everything? If you're a student that you're a football player or you're a female volleyball player or you're super active in the fall, now's a great time for you to start your preparation, to take an initial test, and then maybe take it again in the spring. So you want to map that out. The other piece that I can tell you is I'm not a huge fan of summer visits for colleges, okay? That it's not the best time for you to visit because when a lot of construction's taking place on campuses, there's not a lot happening that makes it like lively and vivacious. You can't get a real feel for the environment over the summer. Very rare. It would have to be a very big college that has a very large summer session for you to get a feel for it. But what I ask you to do is, over the summer as parents, you should be looking at your high school's academic calendar for next year and thinking about when you're going to be planning some visits. Okay, that's an important get ahead sort of thing, especially to craft your best case your freshman, sophomore year, because you don't want to get to your junior year and not have any visits under your belt. Ideally, you want to start visiting gradually. So by the time you get to junior year, you can really hone in on the types of environments that you think fit you and do some targeted visits. Okay, so these are the things that you want to be working on over the summer as underclassmen and thinking about as you move forward. Since we do have seniors here, what I'll tell you is you got to get started on your personal statement, your main essay now. Okay, now's the time for you to do that. There's no reason for you to wait. The common application for next year, their prompts are staying the same. Okay, so there's no reason for you to not start brainstorming, drafting, getting it under your belt. Again, give yourself a little bit of rest after you take your final exams and then get after it. Okay, you want to be starting on that because you're not just writing one essay when you end up going to college. I'm going to say on average, students are writing upwards of 15 separate individual essays on different topics. So do yourself a favor and get started early by getting the big one out of the way, and that way you can be working on the smaller ones. We have amazing services when it comes to the essay. We have a premier essay package that will help you with one essay of your choice that's priced in very well. We'll talk about that at the end. We have a targeted essay and application package that helps you from start to finish with one full application. And then we have our ultimate comprehensive service that helps you with up to 5 applications, and you can add on an unlimited package. So we have a lot of different options. We also have draft reviews that we do as well. So, I mean, if you're a senior, you want to be thinking about this now. Don't wait, okay? Take your finals, get a little break, and then get moving on that, okay? This is what I will say are the top 5 mistakes that will hurt your chances of admission. Okay, and this is where I'll be just completely frank with you and say that I see this all the time with students, and I don't want this to be you. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes that students make is that they fail to level up in classes. Okay, you're so worried about you preserving that 4.0 or above, or that high 3 whatever GPA, that you don't take advantage of the rigorous classes at your school. That's a huge red flag to colleges. It makes it seem like you care more about grades than learning. Okay, you don't want to do that. It's not going to look good. So level up when you can. You're young enough to be able to do it and to have the conversations with the people at your school that you need to have to be able to get into those classes. Number 2, inconsistent activities. If you are a dabbler where you try a little of this and try a little of that and you never hone in on 1 or 2 things that are meaningful to you, that you're passionate about, big mistake. Okay, again, what are colleges looking for? They're looking for how you're going to contribute. So if you just have a bunch of different clubs and things that you just want to, like, oh, I don't know how many times students are, I tell them, we say this, what clubs are you involved in at school? And they list like 5 or 6 different clubs. And the next question is, so when was the last time you met for that club, right? What do you do in that club? And you often hear, oh, we haven't met yet this year, and it's May. Okay, so you want to make sure you are in activities that matter to you, that are meaningful. Pick a couple of things and get after it. Do a significant amount of hours in those activities. Show that these matter to you. If you dabble, it's not going to look good, okay? Huge mistake if you're applying to highly selective schools, okay? The Ivy League, the Stanfords, the Dukes, the USCs, those schools, you have to do things that illustrate intellectual curiosity outside of the classroom. Those experiences make beautiful college essays, okay? Because it shows that you're not just being spoon-fed learning, that you're going to be self-driven, that you're going to do something on your own, that is going to engage your brain. Colleges love it, okay? And it's good for you, so you want to do that. Big mistake is to think that your GPA and your test scores will get you in. That is not what gets you into a college. What gets you into a college are all the other subjective factors that I talked about. Remember, the GPA and the test scores is what gets you past that first cut. It's not what gets you in acceptance when we're looking at selective schools. Okay, think about the thousands of applicants to these schools and how many have a great GPA and test scores. You have to set yourself apart, okay? And I'm going to say that one of the biggest mistakes that hurt your chances of admission to especially your top choice school is not being yourself in the application process, okay? You want to own that application process. You want to own the topics of those essays, and I'm talking to the student, okay? One of the things that you can do that is going to kill your chance of admission, the more selective the school, is as a parent for you to take over the process. Because I promise you, admissions officers can read right through something that a parent has written, okay? That a parent has guided. You want to make sure that your student has the reins in this process, and if they're not being an advocate for themselves, you want to teach them how to advocate, okay? You want to lead that horse to water, and then you want that horse to drink, okay? So it's super important that you are your own applicant, students, that you are the one going, so you want to make sure that you put yourself first, you have a strong voice, and that's what you want to present in this process. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you now a little bit about, and then we're going to take questions. So if you haven't listed any questions, please do so. But I'm going to talk a little bit about our college admissions services and what it is we offer. So we have an amazing approach to our college admissions counseling. And I'll tell you, I've been in this field for almost 25 years. I'm very familiar with, independent college admissions counseling and the smaller services. And what we do is that we actually pair you with both an admissions expert who has specific experience working at a top college and a college admissions coach who has counseling experience in the nonprofit sector, working with a variety of students on college applications and admissions. We pair you with these people, and through the process, depending on where you're at, you'll work with either the coach or the counselor, depending on what part of the process that you're in. And everybody works together as a team, and we're dedicated to making sure that your needs come first, okay? And we make sure you're motivated and you stay on track and you are very empowered throughout the process. It means less stress for you as the student, way less stress for you as the parent. And that's what we do. We have a variety of services. Like I've said, we offer a fully comprehensive ultimate package. We have a targeted package that just helps with one application and a review of your college list if you're a rising senior. We also have a sophomore edge product. That's one meeting with the coach and one meeting with the counselor. And I'll tell you that if you sign up between now and June 1st, you'd have to call this number, our 1-800-866-0445. But if you sign up for both our Ultimate package and the Sophomore Edge package with them, you actually get your Sophomore Edge package for free. So you're basically getting 2 different meetings. We have that right now that's going until only June 1st, and then that promo will expire. The only way to get it is for you to call. We also offer a free admissions consultation that's with our admissions enrollment experts, where they can talk to you about the process a little bit, where you're at, your needs, and help to direct you to the program that's going to serve you best. So you can call for a free consultation. You can also go to our website and sign up for any of those services. We have a lot of information. It's all there. You can sign up directly online if you're interested in any of those. And our last poll before we do questions, you want to do that last poll, Stephen, is whether or not you're interested in a free consultation. This is basically where, again, they're going to walk you through different aspects of what goes into not just our program, but what you should be thinking about when it comes to the admissions process. Even if you're not interested, if you can mark no, that it's not something that you want to do, that helps us as well. You'll be contacted by one of our admissions enrollment experts in the next couple of days to schedule that time and to go over what our service is. That service is parent required. So you do, if you are a parent, you need to attend. If you're a student, your parent needs to join. And that's something that's important as you're going through. So thank you so much for voting. Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes to go ahead and answer some questions. So let's see here. I'll go through. Just a
So
couple.
it looks like we have a couple. Yeah. Do you want me to go through them or
I can
um
actually, I think I can look. Yeah, I can pull them
cool.
up.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, so we have someone asked, when should I visit colleges, what to do or to ask? Okay, this is a great question. So, the best time to visit colleges is during the academic year, okay? And you have to remember, most colleges are out in early May. So, most colleges are actually off for the summer already. Some colleges in the Midwest, Chicago area, are still there, but and they run from September until early May. Best time to visit is when a college is in full session. And I recommend that you look at your academic calendar for your high school and you think about possibly the beginning of Thanksgiving break may work. You look at Veterans Day holiday, you look at the President's holidays, and definitely your spring break of your junior year. Your spring break your junior year, that's college visit time. But you need to plan on doing that with your family and bring everybody and you go and check out colleges. We have great articles, advice articles on our review.com site. You can just do a search and put college visits, the Princeton Review, and it should shoot you right to our advice articles page. And that will give you a list of questions. It'll tell you what you want to focus on. You should check into the admissions office so that way they know you're there. Okay, and that demonstrates interest. It shows that, hey, I went and visited the school. You don't want to be stealth when you're on these campuses. You want to actually make sure you check in and you want to go through that process. The same person actually asked about demonstrating interest. College visits are huge. You want to actively maybe like a Facebook page or an Instagram social when it comes to the colleges. Some colleges are going to track your interest more than others. Most of your high schools invite the college reps to your campus. If the rep is on your campus and it's a school that you want to apply to, you want to make sure that that you definitely go and you meet the rep and you shake that person's hand. There are regional information sessions as well, where college reps come to town and they're going to talk about the school. But those are all some kind of different ways for you to demonstrate your interest to colleges. So those are great questions. Please keep them coming. Right now we only have one more. If you have other questions, please ask. So, this is, okay, good question. Thank you for asking this. Jada asked, how many AP, IB, or honors classes do admitted students take that get into the most selective schools? Okay, there's no magic number, but here's what I'll tell you. And this is working with, and I've worked with thousands of families, and this is what I'll tell you. If you're looking at most selective, okay, when I think of most selective, I'm thinking the college that accept 20% or less of their students, okay, which, is a lot of the UC schools. It's going to be a lot of the big name schools you're thinking of. You need to take advantage of as many rigorous classes as possible. And I'll tell you that we're talking like by graduation. So by the time you leave the school, I'm going to say 10 to 12. Okay. And how do you organize this? And this is such a great question. So I'm so glad you asked this. What you want to do is I'll tell you personally, I'll give you a story about what I just recently did with my daughter. So obviously my daughter's interested in college admissions. That's what her mom does for a living. So, we were sitting at breakfast the other day and she said, Mom, I want to know what classes I'm going to be taking when I'm in high school. Let's map it out, right? And so what I did is I'm a believer in making sure that students have balance as they're going through this process. And I want her to also take full advantage of the high school experience as well. So I said to her, this is what you should say too, is which subject areas are you great at? What do you enjoy? Okay. Her answer was English and history. And so we went through it and I calculated that if by graduation she took the AP or IB classes in those two areas, she'd be able to have 5 AP classes right there. Okay. So that's great. I mean, that's great for selective schools. But if she wants to go to more selective schools, like the upper level UCs or some other really selective prestigious schools, I know she's going to need 10 or so. Now, I don't want to, sit there and freak her out and tell her whether she needs to take all these. But then I said, okay, so if you had to take another subject area, what would it be? And she said, I like science. Well, she's young. She hasn't taken biology, chemistry, or physics in middle school. So I said, okay, let's think that maybe you're going to add 1, maybe 2 of the upper level science classes, an AP class. So now we've got 7. That's it. I left it there. It would have meant 4 of those rigorous classes in her junior year, 3 in her senior year, and that's it, okay? if you're looking at the Ivy Leagues, you have to exhaust the AP and IB curriculum at your school. You have to take as many that's offered almost. You have to cap it. So I mean, if you've got 5 academic classes, you're taking 5 AP or IBs in your junior year and 5 or 6 in your senior year. So it's a lot. And what I'll tell you is that not all students are good at it. Not all students can do it, and you're not supposed to. Okay, those classes aren't meant for every single student at the school. They're for the students who are the most intellectually curious, for the students who really, really want to pursue the most selective college admission. And what I always tell people is, you want to weigh this. You very well could take 12 AP classes or more. You take 2 your sophomore year, make it 14. You could very well, if your school offers it, take 14 AP or IB classes, still not get in. Okay? So you have to evaluate whether or not you're willing to sacrifice a lot of elements in your high school experience, some social, emotional growth, things that are important as well, just to like be a strong candidate. And that's a conversation that you have to have with yourself. That's a conversation that you as a parent need to have with your student. Some students are better at it than others. Some are so intellectually curious, they crave that type of rigorous setting, but not everybody. So hopefully that answered. There's no magic formula, but you want to be, it's just something that you have to think about. And again, if all that stuff's not offered at your high school, you'll never be punished for not taking it, because that's not fair. They're not going to say, oh, well, you didn't take these classes, and you're like, where am I supposed to take them? They're not offered at my high school, right? But if they're offered there, then it's something that you want to take advantage of, because you are competing against some of the students at your school who are doing that, who are taking the most rigorous curriculum, okay? We are going to take one more question, and then we're going to conclude. So this question is, what activities should we do to show that we really care about a specific activity or subject? And I'm going to say it just depends, right? So like, if you're going to declare a computer science major at your school and you've never taken a programming class, it's a little silly. Okay, so you should do an activity that shows that you're actually genuinely interested in that subject area. If you're interested in being a doctor, like I said, there's different activities that you can do in your community that illustrate that you're capable of potentially doing something related to the medical sciences. So volunteering in areas that are related to it, taking college classes, learning it on your own and getting books and self-studying, that's a great way to show that you're really interested. We do that in our program. We will help you to identify specific activities that match with the subject area. Those subjective factors, right? Those factors that not everybody's doing, that's what's going to set you apart. So it's important that you continue to think that way. And so that's a great question as you're working to build your case, for strong college admission and to be a great applicant. We have a lot of College 101 events this week. We have a lot of webinars. You do have to re-register for all of the ones you're interested in. So if you go to review.com/college101, you will find the complete list. I hope to see you at other webinars. On Wednesday, our Director of College Counseling Operations is going to be leading a webinar on the Guide to College Admissions with different advice and different tips that will not be mimicked in what we talked about today. And so I hope that you will join her. And I don't know, Stephen, if you want to close it, or I just closed it. It doesn't matter. But thank you for joining me.
No. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks so much, Lisa, for a great presentation. If you guys think of any other questions or want to reach out about anything else, you can email everyone at questions@review.com. And then, yeah, like Lisa said, if you'd like to check out some of our webinars, feel free to go to princetonreview.com/webinars. Again, thank you, Lisa, and hope everyone has a great night.
Have a great night.
Bye, guys.